Brian, thank you for being with us. What is it that the FCC is thinking of doing?
Well, the FCC wants to crack open the set-top box market. It says that most Americans are paying too much for their set-top boxes. Most Americans pay a monthly fee to their cable providers, but amid mounting concern that there's not enough choice in set-top box providers and cable companies, the FCC is moving swiftly to try and meet some of those concerns by saying that cable companies have to provide their programming to any third party that wants to build their own set-top box. Now, the FCC thinks that this could increase competition, it could reduce prices, all of which could end up benefiting consumers in the form of lower monthly cable bills.
While you're saying that, I was mentally adding up what I'm paying for set-top boxes. There's the $20 a month for the DVR, and there's maybe 10-ish for an HD box and 5 or 6 for an analog box. And you add that up times 12 months a year, times the last 5 years or so, it's a lot of money. But on the other hand, these boxes are like mini computers.
That's right. The cable industry says that these boxes have actually increased in functionality tremendously since they were first introduced decades ago. Nevertheless, I think a lot of consumers are still frustrated by the fact that they regard it as a subpar product or it doesn't do enough for them. And so the theory that the FCC is working with here is that if companies like Apple or Google were to try and get into this game, you might see completely new set-top boxes with even more functionality, better search features, better looking menus, potentially, features that we didn't even think we needed. But all of that is still in the future. These rules still need to be voted on. They still need to be passed. They need to be implemented. And experts say that this could totally be the kind of thing that incurs a lawsuit from the industry. So if that does wind up happening, the FCC will have to run that gauntlet as well.
What a valuable franchise it would be for Apple or Amazon or whoever can place that box in your living room and really control your television viewing experience. I mean, there's the innovation side and potentially a cost savings, but they're basically going to own your TV.
I mean, that's exactly right. If these companies, many of which have built up a business model based around monitoring and monetizing an analysis of how you behave on the internet, this is going to give a whole range of industries potentially access to information about what you watch, when you watch it, how long you watch it for, your interests, all the information that Netflix already gathers on its own users will now essentially be made available to companies like Apple or Google or anyone else who wants to build a set-top box of their own.
I think for maybe it's some providers, maybe it's not all, you can bring your own internet modem or Wi-Fi device at this point. Do you know if that's true?
Well, this is something that the FCC has been kind of going on about at length. They keep referring in this set-top box decision to previous eras, such as the telephone, where it took FCC intervention to allow phone companies and phone consumers to connect new devices to the network. And previously under AT&T's monopoly, you weren't able to connect things like fax machines or pagers or voicemail machines to the network, and you could only connect your traditional telephone. Well, the FCC is saying now, just as you were able to connect other devices, non-phones, to the phone system, you should be able to connect any cable device that you want to the cable system.
Yeah, this may be before your time, but I remember having a phone that said it was basically Ma Bell's telephone from Western Electric, and it belonged to Bell Atlantic or whatever the predecessor of Verizon was. And then pretty soon you could buy a phone at the drugstore.
That's right. And so the argument here, which is being challenged by industry, is that this will lead to lower prices for consumers and more competition. Again, it remains to be seen whether this will actually bear out. But the FCC appears dead set on moving forward with this proposal.
Very good. Brian Fung at the Washington Post, WashingtonPost.com. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.